next topic that we are going to discuss is on the future career choices. Okay, I believe that we are slowly bringing them on board now, that whereby that these future career choices, that what skills we should be developing. Okay, and we are glad to have all these panelists that coming from different colleges that specialize in different courses. Okay, all right, they are special in different courses, that whereby we are glad for them to be here. That we have Curtin University, Terence. Hi, Terence. Good to see you again.
Hello.
Hello, Terence. And then we have Unimai. Miss Unimai here. Hi, Unimai. Mr. Muhammad Amin Sahari, right? From Unimai.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. Hi. Good to see you. And then we have Penang International Dental College, Dr. Ajay. Hi.
Hi.
Dr. Ajay. Hi. Good to see you again. Hello. Hi. Hi. Okay. And then last we have Nasmia from Cosmopoint. Am I right? Nasmia, you there? Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Yeah,
Hello.
hi.
In fact, I'm very glad to have these panelists that actually came from different institutions that specialize, and they are unique and in the different area, and especially during this period pandemic sessions. I think it's good for students and especially a lot of parents to know a little bit more about how is it going to have what type of skills is needed, and then for the future career, all those kind of things. So perhaps let's start with on top next to me, I can see from the screen is Terence. Perhaps you want to introduce about yourself first. Each of you say a few words and let the audience get to know you. Terence, let me start now.
Okay, my name is Terence. I've been teaching in Curtin University for 15 years. Before that, I was studying, my first degree was in Imperial College. I did a master's in computing. Then I went on to do a master's in business economics in City University, London. And Curtin University has many courses, but I'm the program coordinator for the computing subjects. So we have a software engineering and cybersecurity amongst all the other engineering courses around. So, but that is what I coordinate. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you, CK.
Okay, thanks for the sharing. Terence, and can we have Nasmi? Maybe I can see that from the screen you are next. So we shall follow this clockwise order. Nasmi? Okay.
Sure. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Najmi Nordin. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Cosmopoint Group of Companies. We are an education management company. We manage 11 different Cosmopoint colleges and one Kuala Lumpur Metropolitan University College. We have close to 4,000 students right now, spread across 12 locations across Malaysia, and we are owned by Equity Nasional Berhad, the government's private equity firm.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Good to know that. Okay, then can we have next one, Dr. Ajay, to give some brief instructions about yourself? Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Ajay. I am the Dean of Penang International Dental College. I am a trained dental specialist. I did my training. I'm basically from India, and I've been living and working in Malaysia for the last 14 years. And I've done my basic training in dentistry from India and my master's in dental pathology also from India. I have a master's in medical education from the Netherlands, and I've been working with Penang International Dental College from its very inception. And the school is among the pioneer private dental schools in Penang. And over the last 15 years, the school has trained approximately 600 dental graduates who are working in various different fields, including Ministry of Health right now, supporting the frontliners as well as in private practice, and many of them who are pursuing postgraduate studies in various universities overseas, as well as in public universities here. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, how about Mr. Muhammad Amin? Yeah.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Muhammad Amin. Currently, I am the Dean of Academic in Unimai. So basically, in Unimai, I'm teaching information system as I was graduated in information system for my first degree, and also teaching cybersecurity courses, graduated from UKM in Master of Cybersecurity, forensics. So basically, I have 8 years in education field, and in Unimai, I've been with Unimai for 3 years, And currently, we are actually teaching all those, I can say, hot courses lah, or industry demand courses. And at the same time, also looking into the new courses or short courses to be offered in Unimai, as well as looking for other opportunities to discuss with other institutions on the moving forward in line with the IT and also the IR 4.0.
Okay, so thank you very much, gentlemen, for the introductions. So perhaps I believe that some of your friends are actually watching us. To the audience, if let's say you are my friends, you just care if you are friends of Dr. Ajay or we are from representing from work, just put down a word, say hi CK, hi parents or whatsoever. Isn't it? Let's have some interactions. All right, we're going to have 1 hour here. All right. Now, if let's say you don't know any one of us here, you are just an audience wherever you're from Europe, from Canada, from America, who is watching us now. Perhaps you are on this platform. You want to know more about some courses, or even that you are an engineer, you are IT professions, or whatsoever. You're seeking for some information. Let's just type below that looking for engineering program, science program. At least that when we go along, we know that okay, who are the audience here? Where are you from? If you can just help us to just leave a message below in our Facebook Live. Okay, thank you very much. Just say hi to whoever that your friends or even your colleagues are here that doing the sharing. Okay, while we're waiting for some questions to come in. Any questions, as I said, please leave a message that the group of panelists are here. It's not easy for us to get all these people are here that to do a discussions on this topic. Again, I just repeat, topic we're going to have here is about the future career choices, that what skill we should be developing. Okay, so any questions, we welcome questions, that please leave your message down here. All right, so let's start with this myself that we're waiting for some questions to come in. All right, now when we talk about the career choices, all the things that I think quite a number of presenters have talked about industrial revolutions 4.0 just now, and so I believe that whatever that industry that you are in now, I think computing or industry 4.0 that is actually embarked in your life, even though hospitality, hotel management, even as a science, okay, with the 5G coming up also. Perhaps on this particular industry 4.0 or even 5G is coming towards that from engineering as engineering for hospitality, and also perhaps IT definitely is moving there, even health sciences that Dr. Ajay, that how is it going to impact us in the different industry? Perhaps we can start from Terence, again, clockwise, easier.
Okay, sure. Well, it is something that, again, we are, whether we want to or not, we are going there. So I suppose when we talk about preparing, so we're talking about the skills that it's needed. I think not just talking about how to do those skills, how to program or how to apply or how to implement those things, but I think that there is a sore need of being able to just communicate clearly, because or communicate in a courteous or polite manner. I think this is something that I mentioned to CK yesterday, that I think there is also the personality, the people-to-people relationship that you need to have. So I think that is something that we need to also emphasize alongside the technological aspects, but being able to present good ideas and being able to share those good ideas, all right? For example, yesterday I mentioned that some of our students did a 3D printing. So again, what does that require? You need to talk to the NGOs, talk to the hospitals, what's the requirement, what is the specification, what are some of the innovations that you can do. Then you can upgrade and build upon those things, talk to the client how many, how much. So those are things that being fast, being responsive, being able to, so all those things are skill sets that we need. And I think that a lot of young people now, they don't realize that they need to talk. They need to talk to clients, they need to talk to lecturers, they need to voice out. So just one more thing before I pass it on. I did tell the students, what's the difference between you going to MIT OpenCourseWare or online? You can learn everything online now. So why are you in university? And the whole point is that you engage with the person right in front of you. If you're not engaging with the person in front of you, right, then you might as well sit at home and watch YouTube. In fact, even this online world that we live in, the whole point why you pay fees, even now, is because you have person who will guide you. You can ask questions, and they can engage you. And then from this human to human interaction, not the human to machine interaction, then you can gain something, all right? And you can go and graduate and say, oh, I had this lecturer, I had that lecturer. Well, like go to YouTube, you see MIT professor. The professor doesn't know you, isn't it? So at least in the university, someone knows you, you see, and can say, this is a good student. This did very well in his final year project. And you can still talk to, I have students still talking to me after they graduate. So these are all very skill sets, person to person, human to human, not just human to machine. Okay, pass on.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, good one about that. You can enroll any program, but people doesn't know you. At least people know. Yeah, okay. How about Nasmi? Any comment from your side? Especially, I understand that KMC or Cosmopoint is very much into hospitality and business program. Am I right? So perhaps that how all this program that affects the industry also their students. Okay, let me share with us on that.
Yeah, thank you, CK, for the question, and thanks, Terence. I think your point is very valid in terms of the communication skills that people need. I'm sure that has been said many times already by almost everyone. So I think students are getting that right now. They are personally trying to develop themselves. That's why you see a lot of online courses on how to communicate better. You know, students are taking it on their own, and the universities themselves and our own college, for example, we emphasize a lot on communication skills and English speaking skills, writing skills. But what I would like to touch upon is, you know, in Cosmopoint, our biggest courses are, number one, secretaryship, diploma in e-secretaryship. Number two would be business management, and number three is tourism management. Now, these are industries where, in terms of secretary, you are seeing less and less the need for the traditional type of secretary, because a lot of the scheduling can be done online now. But what you need is people who are aware of the needs of everyone else. And that's a very high EQ, you know, emotional quotient that you need from our graduates nowadays. It's difficult to teach that, but what we can do is create an environment where they are constantly exposed to challenges which develops their personality. So in Cosmopoint and in KLMUC, we do really focus on a lot of practical things, like going out and doing events, doing activities, even outside beyond the scope of the syllabus. Because really, when you talk about tourism, you talk about secretaryship, it's all about the experience that you bring, not in terms of how many years you've worked, but the kind of attitude and personality that you bring to the job to create a memorable experience for everyone that's worked with you. So that's where we try to focus on, because inevitably you can learn technology, but the pace of technology change right now, you are always lagging behind, especially when it comes to syllabus, right? I think I'll be very honest here. We do offer IT courses, graphic design, multimedia course, but I can tell you that every single year, new technology are being introduced from Adobe and even our vendors that we cannot catch up on, right? Our teachers and learners have to be trained in that, and they have to have the skills to train the students. So what we try to impart to our students is the basics, and then for them to develop the building blocks of knowledge later on their own.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's very important about that both gentlemen that mentioned about the social skill, but I like the program that you mentioned just now, diploma in e-secretariat. That means that you're introducing the technology part to the secretary, that how they use different software to manage the timetable of their bosses now. This is
correct.
Something very unique. Oh, okay.
So, so traditionally that's an office management course. If you remember, it's an office management course. So what we did with our syllabus was to bring the IT element into it, so they are aware of how to build websites, simple things like that. So.
Okay, thanks for the sharing. How about Dr. Ajay? I think it's quite interesting that, as I mentioned yesterday, that about a person who scared to go to enter clinic that now is so advanced now. Okay, perhaps
Yeah. Okay. I totally concur with both the speakers who just mentioned about the impact of 4IR in the lives of our students as well as overall as citizens. I think the most important thing, whichever program you choose, whether it's dentistry, whether it's IT or engineering, with the with the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution, the most important thing that we realize is that we're all connected. No matter what profession we are in, we're actually connected. Even though dentistry is a field of healthcare, 4IR is artificial intelligence, IoT, big data analysis. That is something purely considered to be engineering, but that is not how you can look at it. I think students, whether you as students, staff, as well as universities, have to understand that all curriculum slowly will become interprofessional education, because we're all closely connected. So even in dentistry, for example, the impact of 4IR is going to be in terms of the fact of the digital dentistry that's coming in. That means the traditional ways in which treatment, in which impressions were taken, in which treatment planning was done, will now be done using digital tools. So nobody can escape it, and it is all around us. So I think that's something important. And I think all dental schools all over in the country, and including PIDC, give students that opportunity. Not just to train themselves in knowledge, skill, but also in attitude. So it has to be a holistic development of an individual, so that he can be a responsible global citizen. That's important.
Yeah. Okay. That's a very good point that you mentioned. Is about that. Is not technology is something that exists, but I think the attitude, especially when you're meeting all these patients in front of you, is very important, isn't it? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, from Unimai point of view, is actually a very university that we specialize into this area. Okay, you have to share with us about what are they, other than all these technological skills that you're teaching. Perhaps you want to share with us about other things that you want to.
Okay, thank you. Okay, in terms of when we talk about technological changes, of course, universities or colleges are actually moving forward to IR 4.0, where we offers programs which are ICT related programs, I can say that. And in terms of programs, I agree with Dr. AJ, no matter what programs or what professions that you are in, we cannot run from the technological implementation, we cannot run from having the usage of technology embedded into the program and into our professions. My concern, just to share one of the concerns that we have, we are actually driving, or I can say racing, towards achieving the objective of IR 4.0, where everyone's now talking about IT programs, talking about how to engage students to go to IT field. And from that aspect, I see that we are becoming dependent on technology. One of the aspect is becoming dependent on the technology. And where we have the IR 4.0, where we have the automation of the industry. And when we talk about the automation, of course, as human, we have a lot of easier things to be done, as we have automated monitoring from machines, automated monitoring from our computer system, for example. And we are from day to day becoming dependent on technology. And yet, we cannot forget that all those soft skills are very important, and we cannot simply driving towards IT itself without focusing on the soft skill. As what our friend from Cosmopoint or Cosmopolitan just now, sorry?
Cosmopoint, yeah.
Yeah,
Cosmopoint.
Yeah.
Okay. As what our friend mentioned just now, we need to have the communication skill itself. Because if you look at students or youngsters nowadays, they are becoming too dependent on technology. Having social media, having WhatsApp, having emails, and those things to be online, and yet they are lack of communication skill. They don't know how to communicate with people. They don't know how to do analysis, how to perform decision making. Why? Because everything is actually slowly automated by machines and also automated by technology. And as what we can see, driving towards the IR 4.0, we know that we have the emergence of IoT, where we have all things, physical things, to be connected to the internet. And from there, we can see that when people are slowly decommunicating lah, I can say decommunicating, starting to have low communication with people, then the soft skill will slowly reduce while we are racing or driving towards the technology. So we might be having students or youngsters who are very expert in terms of technological changes or having knowledge in terms of technology, but when it comes to real life communication, real application in terms of soft skill, decision making, analysis, analyzing skills, we might be thinking that we have lack of that soft skill implemented in ourselves. As I saw one of the videos related to IR 4.0 in YouTube, whatever things that cannot be automated by machines or imitated by machines will be extremely valuable in the future. So the example of those attitude ataupun I can say characteristic, your intuition, your thinking, which cannot be simply automated, will be extremely valuable in the future. So while we are moving forward with the technological changes, we need to embark, or we need to really stress on the soft skill, as we need to ensure that we are actually in par, not only related to technology, but related to the soft skill in the individuals themselves.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, gentlemen, all of you have a great point. Perhaps we just get a pull from the audience, okay? I understand that from now that actually, even though we are talking about IR 4.0, but even as a technological university like Muhammad Azmin from UNIMI, we talk so much about soft skill, all this kind. Let's have a pull that whoever from the audience are listening us, that if you think that with moving forward, that technological skill, all this technological skill, that is more important, you put one. If you think that soft skill, am I right? Like communication skill, even language is a soft skill, meeting people, attitude, all these are very, very social in life kind of skills. You put that too. So let's have from the audience, at least we know. I know that some graduates nowadays, they might know something, but then when they go for the interview, I believe that that is the problem, and they come out to work the soft skills. So let's have a poll that from the audience. Let's vote if you think that, okay, soft skill is more important. Okay, put one soft skill. Put one technological, where we go into discussion, then you put that too. So you have some interactions with the audience. While we are waiting, any questions, as I say, please do drop a message with us. We have all the audience here. Okay, we can discuss whatever topics that related to the career choice in the future, that we hope that the young people that actually will have a better choice. Okay, so please give a poll. First, number one, soft skill. Second is the technological skill, because that's what we are talking about here. Because IR 4.0 is focused on the technological skill. Am I right? Correct? Right? Yeah, yes. Technological skill, all those kind of things. So let's have this two, that whether soft skill. Yeah, even though you see that Muhammad Amin still mentions that soft skill is so important, isn't it? Okay, so while we are waiting for any other questions to come out, perhaps I'd like to touch on this point, because when we're talking about the future career, very much that we actually focus on the young graduates nowadays. But among us, that for example, even when we work, I believe that ourselves, we have to upgrade ourselves also. Especially during these pandemic sessions, this environment now, that a lot of people have been talking about the retrain yourself. Okay, we have to learn new skills, all those kind of things. What are the educators, for example, your university, that actually do you have such a program to encourage alumni to come back, or perhaps that to get those alumni to organize some online learning, to bring them back, and then to tell them what to do, especially they may need some social skill as well. I'm not sure, especially this environment. Perhaps we start with Mr. Muhammad. I know UNIMI is a bit new, but I'm not sure how it's connected to your students that went out to work. Are you doing something like that during this season to encourage them to learn more skills? Any skill, any program that you offer, all those kind of things. Yeah.
Okay, so basically in Unimai, due to the pandemic and also due to the MCO, we are now moving our physical classes into online classes. Despite the limitation of cannot have physical classes, cannot be in the university, but still we are coping with virtual classes. At the same time, we are also conducting, I can say, courses or briefing related to common things such as for example counseling courses. Okay, for example, know your true colors, and might be participated by everyone, not only those who are keen in IT but also public. At the same time, we also offer courses like programming or coding for fundamental. It means that we offer to public, and they can come in for free to have a look on what are the future courses that we are offering in Unimai, for example. And apart from that, we also have programs which are going online now, not only related to IT, but we also encourage soft skill courses. For example, as I mentioned just now, we have know your colors, know your characteristic, your attitudes. At the same time, we are actually engaging people not only to know the IT aspect, but also getting into knowing yourself in terms of having good soft skill. I believe that if let's say IT courses are implemented online, we can have all those simulations or even demonstrations to be shown by the teachers or by the lecturers by having let's say videos or demonstration in terms of doing actual programming or designing. And I believe when it comes to the nature of learning, everyone can join to have new knowledge, and we cannot rely on only, but during this time we have to grab whatever opportunities that we have, whatever platforms that we can try and grab in order to learn new things.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. How about Ajay yourself? What's your opinion, especially towards those, for example, some dentists? Do you have this certain program that actually, with the new technology coming, all those kind of things? I'm not sure whether you have for the alumni or for some dentists around. Yeah.
Okay, dentistry is a very hands-on program. So, with the new normal that we're in, actually, we've been able to migrate our entire teaching and learning online. But there still remains a gap wherein the clinical training you do need a face-to-face. So, in terms of engaging with alumni, we have a very strong alumni association, which is around 600 graduates, and they are conducting a lot of online education programs, wherein basically they are some of our graduates who are right now at various universities are actually coming back and using these online platforms to actually communicate with students as well as graduates. So that's where the information exchange is going on. But in terms of skills per se, dentistry requires that face-to-face thing. So I think this period of the MCO and this entire new normal that we're in actually is a very good time for all of us to actually reflect on and invest our time on improving by investing on learning. So any kind of course you do online, whether it is on any of the platforms or on our platform, etc., will help in enhancing and improving your knowledge, attitude, and hopefully skill when we are able to have the face-to-face.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the share. I think we have someone asking us online there. I'm not sure. Just before we take the online question, perhaps Nasmi, any points from a business student's point of view, like for example, all your graduates that work in the hospital industry now, or even those people that they are in the office management work. So do you provide all this kind of upskill that for this environment now? Yeah.
At the moment, the way that both Cosmo Point College and KLMC is set up is for the undergraduate level. in particular the diploma side. We don't do postgraduate education for our students, but because essentially in our experience is that postgrad is something that professionals can do on their own without a full-fledged campus and university to support them. Especially in the fields that we are talking about. You're talking about office management, hospitality. There's not much of a further education that people usually take in those fields. This is not like business where you have an MBA program, etc.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. From Terence, you got any to add on before we actually answer to questions from Facebook Live? Yeah, Terence, you have anything?
Okay. Just a very short one. We have alumni. We work very closely with alumni. We also have short courses because that was your question. And we also in Curtin also have a Pearson VUE testing center. So it's we do testing for Microsoft, HP, VMware. So students can come in and get certified for industrial level certification. So those are some of the things we have offered and continue to offer. And I think it's the thing about universities is when there is a recession, a lot of students then are going for masters. They are going for a postgraduate retraining or short courses. So I think a lot of the universities, including mine, will be looking at the higher intake for those master's program and short courses.
Okay, so that's very true, you know, because especially during this time, that some people some of them might lose a job. That's the things that why we are talking here about the future career. What are the skills? So they have to upskill themselves to perhaps, like for example, postgrad program could be one of the approach that for students to take up additional skills that prepare them for a change of the work environment. Who knows? Okay, I think we have a question from one of the Facebook people here that is called, his name is Keith Speakers. We encourage students to learn more skills by empowering themselves ready ready before we get into the workplace in the future. Yeah, perhaps gentlemen, you have any comments about these questions? How do we encourage students to learn more skills? Yeah, okay. Until probably sometimes they lost their job or whatsoever, but how do you encourage that? What are the steps that you put in place? Yeah, anyone that you want to take up these questions? Yeah.
Perhaps I can start.
Yeah, Terence. Yeah.
The thing about encouragement or motivation, if you don't mind, just give me some time. I pondered about this for quite a while, and I asked the question: why is it that our older generation, you ask them, well, did your lecturers encourage you? They'll be very clueless. What do you mean by my lecturer encourage or motivate me? I just go to class and I'm supposed to learn. But then it's interesting because in the world nowadays, even for myself, university, we also ask the students, did the lecturer or teacher encourage or motivate you? So it's part of the roles of the teacher nowadays. But I want to ask the question, why is it the older generation didn't have to? And the reason why, I saw this from a paper, again, long story, but I'll cut to the chase later on. When you go for Air Force, okay, this is talking about military. When you go for Air Force, when you go for a briefing, because they have to fly a mission and bomb a target, whatever it is. So anyway, in this situation, the commander or the flight commander doesn't tell jokes. He doesn't make encouragement. He doesn't put a YouTube video. He doesn't do quizzes. He doesn't use all these type of things. He's very serious. He tells them about things, and he can give them a mission briefing for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. And the students, if you want to call them that, they listen very attentively. And the reason why was simply because it's a matter of life and death. And so I think what has happened is that from one generation to the next, right, the value towards education has changed. So the previous generation, right, it was the way out of poverty. So you have the kampong, the small pondoks, in Sarawak, again, the people living from the rural jungles, and they see that education is the way out, you see. So they study like nobody's business. And the lecturer can, they just focus on getting the graduate so they can finish the course, they can come out and they can contribute to society and build a family and so on. So it's very different now. Now a lot of our kids, if they don't get a job, they still have a mobile phone. They still can go and get bubble tea. They no aspirational push, you know. I mean, if you look at China or India also, they are hungry. Yeah. Very, very hungry. That is why they are pushing, you see. So I think if you want to encourage the students, we need to give them a big challenge. I think youngsters like challenge. How would you change the world in big data, in AI? how would you see like the thing that people like environment now, isn't it? They like environment, they get very excited about it. So I think if you want to encourage students to learn more skills, we see that how can the new skills face big challenges? So push them and motivate them towards the big challenges in life because they are very comfortable now. You cannot tell them that you get a house. They're really thinking that I'll always have a house. Right?
Comfort zone is for the comfort zone, am I right? Yeah, it's the comfort zone that they have. Not like our time, all of us, yeah, we are from a different generation. We have not gone through the tough time, you see. I think that's one of the, it's a very good point that you mentioned about that. Sometimes we want to encourage them, but themselves, are they, do they want to do it or not? It's always on them, correct? Yeah, thanks for the sharing, Terence. How about you? That's fair.
Yeah, that's a very good point in terms of the generational change before and currently, the kind of attitude that students bring to the university and college. But at the same time, I want to give credit to the current generation as well, because in terms of their creativity and resourcefulness in finding out things on their own, I think they are much more advanced than at least my generation, you know. If you take the really cream of the crop, the best students, they are much more well versed compared to the best students from 10 years ago or 20 years ago. The problem right now, and I think what a lot of employers are facing, is the bottom half of the talent pool, where you need to find students who are less motivated right now, because exactly like what Terence is saying, the current generation, I think the aspiration is they are not so aspirational compared to the previous generations. And we're not talking about the whole lot, but just half of the student population. It gets very difficult, right? Even if you were to do a program, like say, for example, for free, on how to improve yourself during interviews, you still find that the participation rate can be as low as 50% or 60% for a free program, right? You would think that students would be encouraged to find out on their own how to improve their interviewing skills and things like that, but some of them just don't bother. And then you have the top 20% who are really committed. They're involved in NGOs, they go overseas, they do things on their own, perfectly fine. I think those are the future leaders, and they are much better than my generation. But the big problem is that some of the groups, it's very difficult to encourage them. So when the question is how do we encourage them, it goes beyond the institution, because the institution is just a platform. It must be a combination of the family and also the society as well. You know, how do we make sure that kids are not left behind? How do we create jobs that they feel motivated to join? If graduates are earning less than their parents, why should they work harder in universities and colleges, right?
Yeah, so it's very important also that the individuals, the students, their motivationals, that is very important. But as an educator, I believe that we always try our level best. That's the things that you point out. Sometimes it's the students who are not motivated to themselves. Am I right? Okay, how about Dr. Adi? I think the students who want to come to study your program, I think shouldn't be any problem about these factors, right? They will definitely go for it.
Yeah, well, yes and no, but then every university has a mix of students who come with different aptitudes. But I totally agree with what Mr. Terence and Mr. Norton just said. I think is that you don't have a problem with the cream of the students. It's the lower belt that you need to keep them motivated. But another perspective to this is that I mean, the generations are changing, needs are changing, financial independence is changing from every generation. And so I think as educators, we must keep an open mind that we cannot go against the flow of the generation. We probably have to realign the way we actually teach and learn and assess these group of students, because one size fits all cannot be the system for this generation. You know, so if there is a student who is particularly good in hand skill but is slightly weak in terms of the theoretical component, but has done something exceptionally electively, we must look at it holistically And I think that's one big aspect that the Ministry of Education stresses in the blueprint for education and the implementation in the 4IR. That is flexibility in the curriculum. That is something very important. And I think all higher education institutions as well as universities are keeping that in mind and making sure that students who join us, we also as educators evolve along with them.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Yeah. Muhammad Amin, you have anything to add on before we take on other questions? Yeah.
Okay, in terms of preparing the students, of course, when it comes to preparing students, we need to ensure that students are aligned with the current trends as well as the moving of IT. And as educators, as teachers, as lecturers, we should have what we call as the correct pace in learning the technology as well. And in terms of learning attitude, for students, they must have strong passion and also strong interest in learning. And not only having that attitude, while going forward, moving forward, as well as driving the technology into our daily life, we must also have the attitude of being creative as well as innovative. So when we are creative and innovative enough, of course, I believe that we can capture all those trends, all those pace in order to inline ourselves with the current needs, especially in the industry.
Okay, thank you so much. I think can we just continue? I think if the same person have a questions that related that from the skill he talks about just now in the earlier questions, he also mentions that how that do you think that the business or the corporate now that how they work together with the respective industry like that means I believe I'm not sure, I think that's the question that's asking that working together with the industry and then ensure that the students have the competitive skills that when they go out to industry and then they are able to perform in the industry. I think that's the point that perhaps you want to share with us about how each respective industry working with the industry. Okay, yeah. We start with Terence, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, well, one is the internship. So, I think sometimes the industries can help with the internship. We have one student who went to Vietnam, to his home country, and then he came back before all this MCO started, and he was just telling how excited he was to work in the company and making a contribution. So he was working there, and he saw how the company was doing, and then he said that, hey, there's a better way of doing it. Why don't you use instead of manual entry, typing in everything? Why don't you use the automated system so I can write the code for you? I can do it so that, and he told me something like 10 hours of work can be done in 1 hour. So it's like, wow, the company was so excited. They said, okay, you go and do it. So he wrote a nice program for it. And then the company was so excited that they said that, all right, we give you more work. And now he's kind of offered a job. So that's a very nice thing. So I think companies, what you can gain is if you allow internship opportunities and you also give them a task that the intern, because sometimes intern, they may not know as much as your experienced hires, but then if you give them opportunities to contribute, even small sectors or small areas, and you find that they can become, like we said, motivated, they just help a little bit, and then they find that, hey, I understand the industry a bit more, and I'm getting some appreciation for, and they can see the relationship between the curriculum, the academic, and also the industry, and they can come back motivated, So it's like the industry motivates the student because they see that, hey, this thing I'm learning actually applies, So that's a very good thing. And I think all of us know when we go to work or internship, we find that we learn a lot, not to say a lot more, but we learn a different aspect, a different angle in what we learn in the school. And sometimes, again, closer relationship. I mean, we all have industrial relations committee, but one thing that I found very helpful is, again, industry coming into Curtin, and then they have interviews, and then our students are interviewed, and then they get a job from those interviews, and they again build motivation, and then they can then encourage the juniors, participate in those workshops that Mr. Nordin was saying, learn how to write a CV, and then the industry coming in together with us, because at the end of the day, the end goal for many students is not just to fill their head with knowledge, right? It's to get a job. Okay, so that's a very practical aspects of the further education. So if they can see the connection between school or academic and also the industry, and the academic providing job opportunities, providing exposure and going in, and academic also going into the universities, I think this is going to be a fantastic collaboration, and we are doing it, and it's something that I think can be improved on. But some industries don't want to get our interns because running around, don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's quite true. Sometimes we are talking about want our graduates to be connected to the industry, but industry people are they only want people who have an experience, which they may not. Correct. Isn't it? All right. Yeah. How about Nasri? Anything to add on this?
Yeah, I think industry partnerships are very important. One of the advantages of having courses like e-secretary and business management is it's a pretty general course. So our students have no problems getting internship. I mean, every office needs an office manager in a way. So they don't mind taking it in. Even we have a lot of our students, even at the diploma level, going into government service as interns. So there is some job opportunities and values there. But at the company level, Cosmo Point itself, I think we've collaborated with more than 112 companies since the start of 2017 with MOUs signed with them precisely for internship, number one. Number two is for them to give us syllabus enhancements in terms of reviewing our programs and giving us ideas on how we can improve. And number three, for some of them, even to take on our students as permanent employees once they graduate. So, I mean, in the hospitality industries, we've got a lot of the hotels, especially over in Sabah, in our portfolio of industry partners. The bigger companies, for example, Revenue Valley, which owns Tony Romas, etc., is also part of our industry partners. So that's at the company level. That's my job to find other companies that are willing to collaborate with us on our students. So far, internship is not an issue. It is the permanent job that becomes a problem later on. Simply, there is not enough new jobs created at the moment to absorb all the students coming out into the marketplace. So it's really a battle of graduates who are offering the best value for the employers out there.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I believe from Dr. Ajay's side, is the dentistry program come with all this kind of internship or this 5-year program, and they will go out and go for the housemanship? It's different, right, for dentist industry?
Yes, you're right, Mr. K. It's a bit different. All the students who are trained eventually have to go on and serve the government for their compulsory service of 1 year, and then based on if their contracts are renewed, they stay on with the government, or they go on and pursue either higher education or move into private practice. But yes, in terms of introducing flexibility in the curriculum, there are avenues such as elective programs where they can choose to go and work or do an observership at something like a work-based learning in private settings as well as hospitals and so on and so forth. But yes, it's very different from the experience that my other colleagues have just shared.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. And I think I think your colleague this morning shared about your program actually all come with internship that, especially for IT program now, is in high demand. I believe that all your program are of the internship. There are people are waiting for your graduates to go and work, and then even before. Am I right? Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, when it comes to learning at universities, I agree with Mr. Najmi. As he mentioned just now, universities or colleges are just platform for students to learn. When it comes to university or colleges level, of course, we can teach all those fundamental knowledge. And I believe whatever fundamental will never change. You can have all sorts of qualification. You can have your diploma, your degree, your master, even your PhD. But the question is, when you come to the real working environment, will you be able to apply what you have learned or not? So basically, if let's say you don't have, if let's say we don't have correct industry partnership, or even we don't have exposure at university level in terms of internship and also partnering with businesses or corporates, we will always rely on the fundamental knowledge without knowing the trends and also the gaps that we should fill in. And talking about the gaps between the industry and the academics, I believe this will be have been asking for a long time. When it comes to student, kita boleh ajar semua benda. Of course, we can teach everything to them. But when it comes to the real working environment, are they going to apply, or will they apply the right concept or the right theories of what they have learned before? So through internship, as what Mr. Terence said just now, and also through industry partnership and also collaboration, from there we can see what are the gaps that we should fill in without simply relying on those fundamental things that we teach at university level. And for Unimai, we have our industry partners coming from various companies, and as our classes session running on, we are actually conducting what we call as industrial session in every of subjects or courses taught in Unimai. For example, if let's say you are teaching any theoretical subject, you have to bring industry people in to co-teach in terms of giving ideas, or even co-teaching in your class. And from that, we do also implement, of course, industrial talk. We have all those resume clinics, for example, to ensure that students know what to do when they go for working later on. But I believe even at university level, having internship and also those collaboration are very good initiative. And we can also add in those industry aspects or industry linkages by bringing the real expert into classes, so that they know what are the needs of the industries, what are the exposures that the students can get despite of having only fundamental theory things in class. And as one of the initiative in Unimai, we also implement industrial linkages to all lecturers as one of their KPIs lah. They have to bring industry people to every class or every courses that they are teaching.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting to know. All right, thanks for the share. So I think that to answer the questions, I think it's very good that you can see that all this industry that where guys you are working is actually very close relationship with all the industry, whatever you are in already. And then when the students go out, like what you guys have mentioned, they come back also, they're contributing to the rest of the students in the class because they have learned something. I think this is awesome initiative that done by the university currently in practice. So we are actually working very, very closely with the industry already. It's not that those days, probably my time or our time, that actually we go to university study and then we go out to work. That's it. So it's changed. All these things has changed already. Now, perhaps we have one more question from here that I would like to pull out from one of the Facebook audiences from Maya. What skills a student needs, especially from dealing with the online learning now? I believe that all are still familiar to attend the online classes. I'm not sure. Some of you have already run some online classes now. I'm not sure. I believe, to me, I think that they are. Perhaps any challenges that you want to share with us from the students that you're having now when you run the online classes with them. Terence, I know that you have been running online classes at home. Yeah, you see any challenges or anything that you want to share about additional skills do they needed or anything?
I think that's a question that probably needs a bit more back and forth, because from what we see in newspapers, right, there is a digital divide. So if you're talking about let's say the rural and the urban schools, primary, secondary schools, I think the situation is very different from what I am experiencing. So in that sense, the online learning is an infrastructure problem. So again, need to dig deep into it. But let's say the question is opposed to our side, okay, to mine. So my profile, my student profile is all of them are proficient in computers. That's why they did computer science. But even the engineers in business school and non-computer science, they're quite proficient in technology, going online, submitting work, downloading materials, watching lectures online. I think these things they are very proficient in. In terms of the exam, I think as well, the exam, if you want to dig, what's the issue there? Is it because it's not answering the exam question? They can type in the exam question, they can choose the multiple choice and so on. So interacting with the technology in this case is not the problem. The potential problem is things like how do you handle an open book? Because now you're not tested on a closed book environment. 2-hour exam, sit there, don't talk to anybody, just do the work there. I think the exams, the online exams have now come into open book, which is a very different challenge, okay, honestly speaking. So the question format should be different because the students can have Google next to them. And I think that is what reflects real life. In real life, you're also going to have Google. I mean, I think it's a very interesting time for educators right now, actually, where we have to think of questions that will actually crack the people's brain instead of memorizing textbook answers to what is A. A is blah blah blah. So I think it's a very nice challenge to have there. And I think that. Just to close this conversation about online, I think it'd be better to think of it as a culture change. I say culture change because if, like, for example, last time I study in class in Sarawak last time, then I go over to London, very different. The people thinking is different, the way they engage the lecturer is different, the language skills, proficiency is different. So there is a culture change. So I think if we deal with it as a culture change, right? Okay, so I'm going from a non-digital world to a digital world. So there is the adapting process. So don't feel like, oh, I'm so stupid because I don't know how to do all these things. I mean, when you go to London, people say, go take the tube. Apa itu tube? I don't know what's a tube. So it's underground. So again, the conversation, like people say, oh, Blackboard, Moodle, upload, turn it in, all this stuff, blank thing, it's just part of the culture. And then after a while, if you allow students, this is part of the challenge for educators, because we didn't allow students, they were forced into it. So if you allow time, okay, so 2 months, perhaps, I don't know, I'm not a policymaker, but if you allow time for both lecturers and students to adapt the culture change from a digital environment, I think everybody will come up well. Again, my assumption is there's no infrastructure problems. Infrastructure problems is what to do. You have no laptop, you have no internet, how to talk about online.
That's exactly the point that we have one speaker just left us because of the thunderstorm in Kuala Lumpur right now. So Nathaniel can't join back in our discussions. He sent his apology because there's a big thunderstorm in Kuala Lumpur, which I'm also very worried now because I'm in KL as well. Okay, yeah. So perhaps, Dr. Ajay, from your side, do you have any comment about this online? I think you shared with us yesterday. Perhaps you want to repeat the arrangement you have done for the students as well. Even for health research program, you can actually go online now. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with what Mr. Terence has said. I think if you look at, there are various aspects to this question actually. If you look at the teaching aspect, I think number one is the infrastructure that the student needs, the lecturer needs, because we have to understand that if moving a traditionally face-to-face taught program, migrating it online is different from a program that is actually distance or online learning program. So here actually you just had about a couple of weeks wherein if you had taken the cue and prepared well, you were ready to migrate in the short span just before the MCU came in. So this was a big adaptation for not just the staff and the IT team, but also for the students who now have to try and cope on learning from home. So I think one of the most important thing that we need to keep in mind as educators is that we cannot overload students just because they are back home and they have to do the learning. We must keep in mind that they must be different backgrounds, there must be different scenarios. The most important aspect is the stress of this entire situation. We do not know what they are going through, what faculty members are going through, what students are going through. Is there a patient who is not well? Is that community having someone who is COVID positive, so on and so forth? So keeping all that in mind, I think the best way forward would be for schools to actually look at asynchronous learning. That means you give the flexibility for the student to access the teaching learning material whenever they have time. And also in terms of the exam as well, give them the flexibility to actually take the exam whenever they are free, not ask them all to log in for a Zoom session where everyone's seated, the lecturer is also seated, and you don't want them to see right, left. We cannot mimic a face-to-face session entirely on an online, and you can build rules, but there'll always be a way through which they will find it. So let's go with the flow of it. Online is about flexibility, as Mr. Terence clearly mentioned. You have in real life, you will have Google always, and when you have a problem, you are going to Google it out. So let them Google it. If that Googling helps them to learn, we've achieved the outcome. I think that's what we need to take. And from the students' point of view, I think if this is the new normal, I mean, as we get to hear that online teaching needs to be continued even after maybe a certain level of the MCO is relaxed, then we, all of us, to collectively have had enough time to adapt. And I think we will be able to evolve as educators at the end of this.
Yeah, exactly. You are right. I totally agree with you. Both your comment about all these things. Traditionally, you must be sitting in front of the exam now. Things have changed now. It's about the knowledge that the students getting. It's not the tradition like what we have gone through, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, Mama Amin, you have anything to add on this point from your side?
Okay, so basically, I agree with those challenges mentioned before in terms of infrastructure, and then some students were not able to access the internet, don't even have internet connection, and in Unimai, for example, we have one course under art course, which is called drawing. So this drawing is actually a conventional drawing. So we need to use pen and pencils in terms of demonstrating how to make drawings, just like when we learn pendidikan seni during our school. So we also need to look at what are the challenges coming from those courses or subjects that we are going to teach, we are going to implement on the virtual platforms, because we have some of the courses which are very difficult to be demonstrated online, even if you have the platforms. For example, let's say programming or even graphic design. Yes, you can have all those softwares to do programming and also graphic design, and yes, you have the capability of sharing your screen so that you can demonstrate to your students. And at the same time, you also need to look at the challenges in terms of the courses. What are the courses that can run 100% on online learning? What are the courses that can be simply demonstrated by having, for example, let's say tutorials or even practical sessions? Because we discovered we have some of the courses that are very difficult to be demonstrated online, even if we have platforms to be used. For example, as I mentioned, the conventional drawing just now, yes, we can have, for example, let's say Photoshop or even let's say Microsoft Paint, but at the end of the day, we need to know, or we need to master the art, the fundamental art of using, let's say, pen and pencil. So that might be a challenge in terms of demonstrating the subjects for practical usage for the students.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the sharing. Yeah, I think that's the reason the earlier speaker that from the One Academy, because they are in the creative arts, they are not able to commence their class. They have to defer the classes. Now I understand that even yourself, there's a subject that sometimes you can't go online. It's not every subject. Yeah, but I'm impressed that health sciences can, like what Ajit kids mentioned, that can learn the theory part, the practical when the MCO is lifted, go back to the lab, all those kind of things. Okay, so I think it's a great sharing. I don't see any more questions coming up now. And thanks, gentlemen, for being a panelist to come on board and then to share with us. I hope those parents and students that are watching us that benefited from our sharing, at least to know more about all this kind of stay-at-home pandemic and then what skills that is required. So just to summarize that, based on our discussions, that despite with the technology, we are talking about IR 4.0, all these things, whatever that technology is so important. But the social skills, am I right? We, all of us here, that I think we come to conclusions that social skill is still very important. The communication skill that you mentioned, the attitude that you guys mentioned, that actually these are the things that whether technology or not technology, that I believe all the employers always look into all these things. Am I correct, all gentlemen? Do you agree with me? Isn't it? And that's what the educators for, am I right? That's what the educators for, to motivate them, to give them encouragement and to ensure that all these things are happening. Oh, there are last questions coming in. I'm sorry, maybe I missed that. Yeah, perhaps that is entrepreneurs is a good future career for students, because nowadays there are quite a lot of business owners are taking MBA courses, and after the difficult period, it's going to have a quite big opportunity. Not now, maybe 1 or 2 years there. It's a good time to encourage students to pursue an MBA program. Anyone, gentlemen, that you want to take up this? I think probably not to Dr. Ajay, probably, yeah, the MBA program that you offer is Terence in Curtin, that I know that you offer some MBA program.
Yes, we do offer postgraduate programs, a master's in business. I myself have a master's in business economics. I think this is a tricky one because entrepreneurship and MBA can be related. A lot of times MBA is really for corporate. So, for example, if you're going to open up a, I don't know, just a small shop and so on, the MBA program can be helpful, definitely, but it's a bit different because the case studies and the material that you cover, corporate finance or whatever forms of things, subject matters you cover, may be more suitable for a corporate structure. So that's not to say you don't learn anything, but then it's just that it depends on where your career goal is. Now, I think that whatever you do in this MCO is good to upskill in whatever areas that you can. And MBA can be one of those options. And entrepreneurship, because an MBA may not necessarily help you to build your own company, you see, or at least not as far as I know, my knowledge, and I'm not from the business faculty. The entrepreneurship courses, there are specialized entrepreneurship, there are masters in entrepreneurship, there are units that cover entrepreneurship, so those are probably a better bets, I guess. They talk about how do you start your own business, how do you manage cash flow, and all those various, how do you create a value. For the IT computing part, we do have students who go into entrepreneurship, so they start their own companies, for example. I guess one of the questions they talk about in entrepreneurship is what value do you have to offer, and what unique selling point do you have in terms of the products and services that you have. So I think, yeah, so you could consider taking an MBA. It could help expand your business, but manage your expectation, lah. It's not a how to say. It's not a definitely you can capitalize on it to become the next Google or Facebook. I think it's an upskilling opportunity. That would be the way to look at it.
Okay, thanks for sharing. I think personally, as an entrepreneur, have to be very risk taker. I would say that that's not easy. I think that's to me, anyone can be an entrepreneur as long as you're creative, you're the risk taker, jump into it, and then you'll be successful. Okay, but MBA, definitely, when you're going into MBA, a lot of subjects you are taken up. For example, a lot of engineers, when they want to pick up some business knowledge, they will go into MBA. Even the IT people, or even like, for example, Dr. Ajay, as a dentist, you can go into MBA, at least you know about what's the business run, all those kind of things. That's the key things. I hope that we answer your questions, Derek Han. Okay. All right. So if there's no more questions, all right, and then we should call it a day. Okay, gentlemen, thanks for joining us today for this panel discussions with excellent sharing from you guys, and I learned from you guys as well. So I hope that one day we'll meet in person rather than just all of us meeting here virtually only. Okay. All right. So stay safe and safe.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Thanks, gentlemen. Okay. All right. So for the 2 days events that come to an end, I just want to express my gratitude or special thanks to Azabas for organizing this awesome event, being first in Malaysia, okay, online education fest, despite that during this MCO time that the kids are staying at home. I hope that you guys benefited through all this information sharing by the respective colleges and also the educators, that at least you know what to do. The colleges are actually, they are still taking international students. You might want to contact them if, let's say, you already know what courses you want to do, okay, or the particular university you want to go to. Else, please leave a message with us or contact us. We have a website, it's called educationfest.asia. There is an inquiry form for you to fill up, whether students or parents. Just leave behind a particular whatever message there. Our colleagues from Azaba is that they will contact you, they will try to help you, that whatever information that you needed from there, any questions that you will come forward, Azaba is more than willing to help you. That's the whole purpose of these 2 days events, that even though in the lockdown, please do contact us. All right, now, so I also like to thank all the speakers and the panelists that have come on board for these 2 days. To be frank, I met them virtually, first time, all of them in these 2 days. learn so much from them. And then from Exabyte also, we would also like to thanks all the sponsors who make these events successful. It takes a lot of time, a lot of efforts, and also a lot of platform money to get this to be organized. It's not easy, all right? So I personally would like to express my gratitude, special thanks for inviting me and give me this opportunity to be honored here, being MC for 2 days, and also to be a moderator. If anything that I said wrongly or I offended any one of you here, my apologies to you, okay? And I really hope that you learn something, and from our discussions here, something new to you. I personally pick up something new over the last 2 days, that to do all these things, to work together with Exabyte, even though I've not met them before in person. All right, so so with that, quite the day for this 2 days event. Nice to meet all of you virtually online. Some of my friends are here. I know that